Team. I want to talk today a little bit about how you handle kids that are misbehaving, not following the rules, or being disruptive. I really see four primary steps that I've used in the children's ministry for kids that are not behaving, not following the rules, or causing some distractions. Um, so the first step, if there's a child that is not following the rules, and this is the easiest step, this is the baseline step, and I think that anybody can do this, whether they are a high school student that's leading a small group, all the way up through a kid zone director. The first step is redirecting a child and suggesting a new behavior. So if Johnny is out of his chair, you can say, "Hey, Johnny, one of our rules is that you need to stay in your seat. Can you go to your seat right now?" So you restate the rule, you redirect his behavior, and you ask him to go to his seat. So that's like the baseline level, and probably 80-90% of all of the times that you have to address a child's behavior, that's enough. Most of the kids, oh, yeah, I'll go to my seat. They forgot what the rule was, or they just got distracted, and they go to that. Now, the second step, and I also think that anybody can do this, whether they are a young person leading a small group all the way up through a kid zone director, is you can redirect, but then tell a child to give you a different behavior. So and you'll see the difference here. So if Johnny's out of his seat for the second time, and you say, "Johnny, rule number 2 is stay in your seat. Go to your seat right now." Okay, so notice the difference in my words. The first time it was, you're supposed to stay in your seat. Can you go to your seat? You ask. It's a nice request, and usually that works. Step number 2 is you actually tell him to go to a seat. So doing it the first way is always the easiest. It feels good. It allows you to keep some level of connection with the kids, and you're working in a partnership. But you also have to understand that if that doesn't work, you can function in a level of authority where you say, "Go to your seat." You tell him what you expect him to do. You remind him of the rules. So both those things are redirecting, but on different levels. The first one's asking, the second one is telling. The way that you use your words makes a big difference when you are correcting a child's behavior. So if you're asking, you sometimes invite the answer no. Can you go to your seat? No, I'm not going to do that. Then you can just take it to another level. Rule number 2 is you need to stay in your seats. Go to your seat right now. Okay, you're telling him what to do. Now, the third step, and this is escalating things even more. If that doesn't work, I think that this third step is really best designed for the kid zone directors or adults who are in a role of like service coordinator. You can demand that they follow the rules. So I just had a situation this past weekend where I watched a kid just run wild, and he had a bunch of leaders like chasing him around, and he was running the show. And I not only told him what to do, I demanded that he follow what I asked him to do. Why is that appropriate to do? Because we need to keep all of the kids in Kid Zone safe. And if there's a child that's going outside of our boundaries, we are responsible not just for that one child, but everyone else. And if they're causing a distraction or causing some sort of risk to other kids, we can demand different things. So this child, and when I do this, I do it very. I'm not emotional. I do it. I'm not mad, but I do demand different behaviors. So this child, he was running wild, and I got to the point where I told him, I want you to sit in this chair, sit right here, do not move, do not get up. Pretty firm, but it was maybe like a level 5 out of 10. And he sat in that chair, then he looked at me, and then like 10 seconds later, he slid to the next chair. 10 seconds later, he looked at me and he slid to the next chair. He was testing the waters. So I went and I sat down next to him and I said, "You will sit in this chair and you will not get up. I will not play these games." And I amped it up a little bit, and it was no longer just like suggesting things. It wasn't telling him what to do. It was, I demand this, and this is the only thing that I'm going to accept. And he sat in that chair with eyes really big. He was testing the waters. There's times that you have to do that, and you can escalate things to the third level. Now, if that doesn't work, if there's a child that continues to do whatever he wants, you can't just allow him to distract everybody else. You have to draw some lines, and that is the point where I think that you need to start getting parents involved. If you tell him exactly what you want him to do, you demand different behaviors, and he's still running wild, and as a kid zone director or the primary person in charge, and he's still not listening to you, you probably need to get parents involved. And that's step 4. So if a child is just refusing to respond to your authority, completely defiant, there's only so much you can do. You can't discipline that child. You can't ground him. You can't. I mean, you're kind of stuck there. So you have to get parents involved and call them or text them or whatever you need to do to get them, and you need to bring them into the loop of that behavior. The only 2 things that I ever get parents involved with is, number 1, it is regular defiance where they just have stopped listening to you. And you saw the escalation of how I'll go from suggesting things to telling kids to do certain things and then demanding things. And if none of those things work and this child is still running wild, you have to get parents involved. The second reason that you can get parents involved is if they have aggressive behavior that's harmful to others. Those are the only times that I've ever had to get parents involved. I think that step 3 should be reserved for the adult coordinators or the Kid Zone directors. And step 4, I think, is best coming from the actual Kid Zone director. So if you have to get parents involved, I think that's best for whoever is running the children's ministry at your campus to be the one that does that, to get the parents on the phone, call them, go get them in service or whatever, and get them involved. But I think those are the 4 tiers to redirecting a child and working with a child that has some sort of behavioral issue. And everybody can be involved in that process, but there are certain levels that you want to get different levels of leadership involved. All right, hopefully that helps. I will talk to you guys later.